All right, welcome to my tutorial on adding and subtracting integers using a number line. And this is your first introduction as 7th graders to positive and negative number addition and subtraction, which you'll see is nothing different than you did before. Now, these are the way I will need you to do your work. Let's talk about rewriting without double signs. Double signs means two operations, and usually we write them without double operations. We only do them singly, and I will show you how to do that. Remember to move to the right when you add, because your values are increasing, and you move to the left when you're subtracting because your values are decreasing. And then we will double underline our answers. Now let's go over a number line. Here's a basic number line, and let's recall that a number line we got 0, which is neither positive nor negative. And then we have the positive numbers to the right, and that represents that means you're moving to the right because you're positive. Positive means adding. Here we have the negative numbers to the left, and you're going to be moving to the left because negative numbers is similar to subtracting, but you'll see as we develop our integer skills in my class, this is just the beginning. All right. Let's take a look at the first problem, -3 minus 2. First thing you want to do is rewrite the problem. Second thing is, I like my kids to box their terms. So -3 minus 2, the first term is -3. And so that's going to be your starting point. And so on the number line, you're going to start off at 0, and then you're going to go to -3. And because -3 means you're subtracting 3, you're going to move to the left. Now your second term is -2. And -2, once again, means you are subtracting 2. And even so, when you're subtracting 2, you're going to go to the left again, 2 more spaces. And so where does that leave you at on the number line? Well, it leaves you at -5. So the answer to -3 minus 2 is -5. And you can see on the number line, you're going back 3 and you're going back 2. There are multiple ways to represent it, but this is the first introduction in 7th grade. Here we got -5 plus 3. You want to rewrite it. Again, in my class, your terms. So your first term is -5, which in this case is going to be your starting point. So you're going to go back 5 on the number line, which is subtracting 5. That's where you're going to the left. Now, your second term is +3, which means adding 3. And so what I told you earlier was when you add 3, you're going to go to the right. So you're going to move 3 places to the right. And if you move 3 places to the right, where does that leave you at? Well, it leaves you at -2. So -5 plus 3 is -2. And you can see in my colors, I put the positives in blue and the negatives in red. This is a little bit different. Here we got 1 plus -5. Now, you want to write the problem down, 1 plus -5, write it on your notes. And again, you want to box your terms. Your first term is +1. Which is your starting point. +1 means you're adding 1. So you're going to go to 0 and you're going to add 1, so you're going to go to the right. So right now we're at +1. Now your second term, if you look at it, and the way you box it, you got adding and then you got subtracting. You're adding a negative. Now, if you were to be adding 5, you would be going to the right 5. But because you have a negative behind it, it means you're doing the opposite of adding 5. And so what is the opposite of adding 5? It's going to be subtracting 5. So even though you are adding -5, it really means you are subtracting 5. And so in reality, your two terms are going to be +1 and -5. Because you're adding 5, but you got the negative, it's the opposite. And so you end up with 1 minus 5. And since you're subtracting 5, which means -5, you're going to go to the left 5 places from where we were at +1. And where does that leave us at on the number line? At -4. So 1 plus -5 is the same thing as 1 minus 5, which is -4. It's going to take a little bit while you get used to this, but you need to be good at this in 7th grade. Here we got to find the sum of 5 plus -6. First thing you do is write down the problem, 5 plus -6. Your first term is +5. +5 means you're adding 5. And so if you add 5, you're going to go to the right 5 places from 0, and that's going to leave you at +5. Then we're going to add negative 6. So if you were to add 6, you would be going to the right 6. But because we have a negative sign, it means the opposite. And so instead of adding 6, we're going to be subtracting 6. And so adding a negative 6 means you are subtracting 6. And so your terms are going to be positive 5 and negative 6. And we already did our first term of positive 5, which is adding 5. And now our next term is negative 6, so we're going to go to the left 6. So from positive 5, we're going to go to the left 6, which is subtracting 6, and that leaves us at negative 1. So 5 plus negative 6 is the same as 5 minus 6, which leaves us at negative 1 on the number line. All right, let's take a look at another problem here. Negative 3 minus negative 2. Write the problem down. You box your terms, you end up with negative 3. That's your starting point. Negative 3 means you're subtracting 3. So you're going to go back 3 from 0. So that leaves us at negative 3. Here, our second term means you are subtracting negative 2. Now, if you were subtracting 2, you would be going to the left 2. But because you have two signs or two operations, you're going to do the opposite because it's subtracting. You're subtracting the opposite. The opposite of subtracting is adding, so you're going to add 2. And so when you subtract negative 2, you are really adding 2. And when we add 2, we're going to go to the right on the number line. And so your first term is negative 3, your second term is positive 2, and because you are adding 2, you're going to go to the right 2, and that leaves you at negative 1 on the number line. So negative 3 minus negative 2 is the same thing as negative 3 plus 2, because you're doing the opposite of subtracting 2, which is adding 2. All right, let's take a look at negative 2 minus negative 5. Again, copy the problem down. Box your term is negative 2. That's your starting point. You're going to, negative 2 means you're subtracting 2. That's multiple meanings. We'll talk about that in class. And then your next term is you're subtracting negative 5, which means you're going to subtract 5 if there was no double signs. But since there's two signs, you are doing the opposite of subtracting 5. And the opposite of subtracting 5 is adding 5. So subtracting negative 5 is the same thing as adding 5. And so that leaves your two terms of negative 2 and positive 5, because positive 5 means you're adding 5. And so that means we're going to go to the right. When you add, you go to the right. So you're going to go to the right 5 places from where we're at negative 2. And that's going to leave us at positive 3. So negative 2 minus negative 5 is the same thing as negative 2 plus 5, because you're doing the opposite of subtracting 5, which is adding 5. And that leaves us at positive 3. Number 7, we got negative 5 plus 9. And in this case, some people ask me, well, what if I don't have a number line? Good question. So you can just make your own number line. So here's a array. I haven't labeled anything, but I'm going to write my terms down. We got negative 5 plus 9. We're going to start at negative 5, and we're going to add 9. So that tells us that we're going to go to the right 9 from negative 5. And so because I'm going to go to the right 9, I'm going to put the negative 5 to the left. And so I'm going to add 9. So I'm going to go 9 places to the right. So let me just add 9 places. And then we label them negative 5, negative 4, negative 3, and so forth. Hopefully you guys know how to make a number line by now. And so now we can do our first term, which is negative 5, which means subtracting 5. And now we're going to add 9, which is positive 9. And so where does that leave us at? Oops, that should be a positive 4. Positive 4, sorry. Now, even though it's negative 5 plus 9, it means subtracting 5 and adding 9, but it also means negative 5 and positive 9. Here we got negative 6 minus negative 4. No number line, so draw your own number line. We got negative 6 minus negative 4. You box your terms. Your first term is negative 6. Your second term is you're subtracting negative 4. So you're doing the opposite of subtracting 4. And so the opposite of subtracting 4 is going to be adding 4. And so subtracting negative 4 is really adding 4. So instead of going to the left, you're going to go to the right 4. And so now you have your two terms. Even though it says negative 6 plus 4, it also means negative 6 and positive 4. It's going to take a while to get used to that as terms, but you have to be very good at that. And so because we're going to go to the left 6 and then to the right 4, I'm going to put my first term, which is negative 6, I'm going to start off on the left. And from there, draw some tick marks, evenly spaced, not like I made them here. And now label your numbers. And now we can go ahead and put our first term, which is negative 6, which is subtracting 6 from 0. You're going to go to the left. And then your second term is positive 4. And you're going to go to the right 4. And that leaves us at negative 2. And so this is how you use the number line to add and subtract. What's going to happen, though, if you end up with bigger numbers? Are you going to be able to do a number line? What's going to happen if you end up with positive fractions and positive decimals? And so as a result, you're going to have to see the patterns involved here. And hopefully we will get there when we start doing what I call War and Peace in lieu of the number lines. Thank you for watching.